Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan for joining early. We'll be starting shortly. We're just gonna wait for a few more people, and our teacher as well is just about joining, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Welcome again to another edition of our fortnightly Usrah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to count this gathering as one of the gatherings of the people of Jannah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it an hujjah for us both in this world and the hereafter, inshallah. So we make a start. Our teacher is here already. Our ustad is here already. So I think we're going to make a start whilst we wait for more people to join. So like a follow-up from what we did in a fortnight ago now, where we talked about the blessings of Hajj itself and the history behind it, some of the significance of it. But this time it is going to be a bit more practical. I wouldn't want anyone to think that it's not going to be beneficial for me because I'm not going to Hajj. You never know when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would invite you to come to Hajj. And it's a knowledge that you can teach those you know, inshallah, that will be going to Hajj as well. I think it's some the knowledge that is never going to be go to waste. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide our ustad and also make us understand better what is going to be presented to us. As we've advertised, the topic today is Hajj and Umrah, practical steps. Hajj and Umrah, practical steps, inshallah. I wouldn't want to give too much away as to what the talk itself is going to entail. But I will leave that to my ustad, our teacher, who is well known to the MFB audience, Halaji Abdul Hamid Solate, who is the CEO of Hajj Mabrur, the well-known Hajj agency back home in Nigeria. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase him in dawajah and to protect him for us. I mean, without much ado, inshallah, I would invite Haji Abdul Hamid Sholate to start his session. Bismillah, Alhaji.
نعم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على دين كله ولو كره المشركون نحمده ونستعينه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ به من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم عبده ورسوله والصلاة والسلام عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن دعا بدعوتهم إلى يوم النشور وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We give thanks to Allah. I hope I'm audible. Kindly confirm if you can hear me. Okay, no problem. So, Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah for sparing our lives at this time, at a time when all minds, all hearts of Muslims are focused towards the month of Zulhijjah, when we shall be doing the Hajj rites. The Hajj itself has a lot of implications. The month itself affects all of us differently. For those who are going for Hajj, they have the opportunity of performing their Hajj rites. For those of us who are not going, we also have opportunity of taking advantage of the first 10 days of the month of Zulhijjah, which the Prophet ﷺ described as the best of days in the year for the Muslims. So we will be able to fast, engage in a lot of acts of ibadah, most especially on the day of Arafah, when we will all be able to also benefit from the fast in that month, that day. So we pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make everything beneficial to all of us and rewarding. For those who are going for Hajj, Allah make it easy. For those of who are at home, Allah also accept our own acts of worship. Allahumma ameen. The topic of our discussion, basically, like I've had from the introduction, that there has been a discussion on the virtues of Hajj and Umrah. So our focus will actually be on the practical steps that we need to when we want to perform Hajj and Umrah. It's very important because for all of us, whether we are going for Hajj or not, it's something we need to learn, especially when we are aspiring, we have the aspiration for those who have not been there before, and the wish and the desire to go there. Hajj is something that cannot ordinarily be done without having knowledge of an idea of what you want to do. So that at the end of the day, whenever you are doing it, at whatever point in time, you will be able to maximize the benefit in it and do it rightly as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do it. So that's why it's important to all of us. And the same way, there will be people around us too who may ask one or two questions, and we'll be able to also assist them to guide them. So we pray Allah will make the discussion beneficial to each and one of us. So I will start my discussion with a prayer that Allahumma yassir lana al-hajj wal-umrah wa taqabbalahuma minna ya arhamar rahimin. That may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept, make Hajj and Umrah easy for each and of us. And when we now perform them, may Allah accept them from us. Now, there are two things mentioned there. You have Hajj and you have Umrah. All of them are performed within the same vicinity. Makkah, the Haram. However, they differ. For Hajj, Hajj is an obligation. Like some people will try to say the major pilgrimage. It's an obligation on each one of us once in a lifetime. Limon is tator for whoever is capable of doing it. So once you have the means, you have the capability, it is obligatory upon you to perform Hajj. On the other hand, for Umrah, Umrah is a sunnah which is highly recommended for us. Some people call it lesser pilgrimage. That's where they can differentiate. However, the major difference is that it is not compulsory, it's highly recommended by the Prophet Sallallahu. And we can perform it at any time. Like Hajj, it is once in a lifetime. Umrah, you can do it so many times that you long because it's voluntary. Hajj too is allowed, you can do it as many times as you want, but only one is obligatory upon you. And the reason why it is beneficial is that Prophet said, Tabi'u bil Hajj wal Umrah. Perform Hajj and Umrah in succession if you have the means. Because what does it do? It creates two things. Number one is that Mukaffirat al-Dam, it cleans our sins. And secondly, that Yawfa'ul al-Faqr, it also push away poverty from us. So this is one of the secrets of Hajj and Umrah that we do. Even though a lot of people do not want to understand because they believe that some assume that the money you are spending is too much. You could have invested it somewhere else and make so much money. But if you follow the line that Hadith Islam, that it's push away poverty. So it means it's like an investment to you. You may not see physically, but eventually the return comes back to you. And that makes it quite different from any other journey that we embark on. So, and that's why Allah said, in Quran Kareem, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ, that you have a due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that thing that is due to Allah from all of us, human beings, who are Muslims, is Hajjul Bayt, to perform Hajj to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The money is tatawa for whoever has the means of doing it. That's in Surah to Al Imran, verse 97. So, in essence, we are talking of Hajj and Umrah to compare them in terms of the rulings, al-hukum, that Hajj is fard, it's obligatory. Muratan fil umur, once in a lifetime. Whereas Umrah is sunnatun mu'akkada, a highly recommended sunnah. Then secondly, Hajj has its own fixed timing. The Hajj itself proper is done between the 8th and the 13th of the Hijjah. These are the period in which you perform Hajj. Whereas for Umrah, you are performing the Umrah any time of the year. As long as you are allowed to enter the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you can perform it. And you can even do it once or twice when you are there. So it means that the duration for Umrah, for Hajj, is 5 days or more, 5 or 6 days, depending on what you do. Whereas the duration for Umrah is just few hours. A few hours, depending on the crowd that you find there, you can finish your own Umrah in 2 hours. It may be extended to 3 hours, maybe around 4 hours, depending on the speed you are doing it and depending on the crowd that is there. So a few hours, you have finished your Umrah. And that is important for them. Now, for the key rituals you have to do there. For your Umrah, you have to do your Tawaf. We are going to talk about that. You have to do your Sayu. You have to do your Tahallul. But when it comes to Hajj itself, then you have to move from the Arab. The whole of the Umrah rites are performed within the Haram al-Makki, that is the Masjid al-Arab, the Kaab Mosque of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Makkah. That's where you perform the whole of your Umrah. But for Hajj, you have to move. You go to Mina, you move to Arafah, you move to Muzdalifah, you go to Jamrah. So that tells you the difference. So it means that Hajj takes more from us in terms of time, in terms of energy, in terms of strength that we are going to spend. Compared to Umrah that within few hours, go through the rigor and you are done with it. So now, to now perform your Hajj, basically, and even if it is Umrah, there are basic things you need to do before them. Al-istidadat. You need to prepare for the journey. Because it's not something you just wake up and just go. You get there, you will not be able to maximize the benefits or the reward that you should get there. So, how do you maximize it? You need to make some preparations. The first preparation you need to do, al-istidad al-ruhi, which means you are suspected to engage spiritual preparations. So, spiritual preparations. So, you need to prepare yourself starting from your intention. The intention for which you are going on Hajj. It has to be very, very clear. So, which is so important. If you have the wrong intention, when you are going for Hajj, people will go there. One of the things you say is telling them, labbaik Allahumma labbaik. That, but for those who have gone there with the wrong intention, when they say labbaik Allahumma labbaik, like this is what you say, la labbaika wa la sa'dik. Your call is not accepted. And one of the reasons that will cause that is when you have the wrong intention. Another level of preparation spiritually is a tawbah wal istighfar. You need to repent, you need to seek forgiveness for Allah. Even though you are coming out from your Hajj as part of the Hajj of Hajj at the end of the day without things. But for you to now move, because you are doing some movement, when you have so many sins you are taking there, Shaitan will put you down. So for you to be light, so you can move around and build spiritually into the right, you need to engage in that. Then we learn about those things, just like we are trying to teach ourselves, essential du'as that you need to do it. So these are the first, your intention. It's very important and training yourself to go before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because in Allah tayyib, la yakbal la tayyib. The second preparation is the physical preparation. Al-istidadat, al-istidad al-jasad. Physically, you need to be strong, take care of your health, do your medical checkup, know where you are weak, know the medications you need to take with you, the vaccination you need to take. Then you need to practice some exercises, because there is no way, no amount of luxury that you want to give to yourself when you go to Hajj. You are still going to go through some stress. So if you are not strong physically, you will find out that you are going to break down at the end of the day. And when you break down, you'll be able to perform the Hajj right properly. So it demands a lot of physical strength, a lot of physical exercises, strenuous thing that you have to do. Sometimes you have to walk, sometimes you have to sit in the sun. So your health is very important. So we need to get ourselves prepared physically so that we can be able to go through the rigor of the Hajj rites and then the stress that is there. Then financially too, financial preparation. Because you are going there, you need means to take care of yourself. So, which is important, because you don't go there begging. That's why I said, the money is at all. Those who have the means. So even if somebody is taking you, sponsoring you or Hajj, you still need some money to take care of yourself so that you don't go begging. You're going to spend money to do some things, do your adaya, some other things there. Then the logistics, which are part of things you need to take around. So those are the preparation. Now, for you to do your Hajj right or to do your Umrah, you need to first understand, what do I want to do? If you are going for Hajj, there are three major types of Hajj that people do. You have the Hajj Tamattu, you have the Hajj Ifrad, and you have the Hajj Al-Qiran. They have their different ones. So you must determine the one you want to do. The Ifrad means I am going there only for Hajj. So in that case, you don't need Umrah. Just go, put on your Ihram on the 8th of Zulhijjah, and you go in. For Qiran, you want to do Umrah, and at the same time, you want to do your Hajj together. So then, however, you don't want to break it. Maybe perhaps one of the reasons is that because the person who is there, you do have means of getting by what you are going to slaughter for your adaya, and you just want to combine it together. It is allowed. Call it Hajj Qiran, combination of Hajj and Umrah together. So it means first put on your Ihram, perform your Umrah. You are not going outside the state of Ihram until you perform your Hajj. So it is only after the Hajj. Then the third type of Hajj is Hajj Tamattu. Hajj Tamattu is the one where you do Umrah and you do Hajj. However, in between, you have a Tamattu. You have some level of relaxation, some level of enjoyment. It means you perform your Umrah. After the Umrah, you do Tahallul, you remove your Ihram after finishing your Tahallul, relax. You can do so many other things. Then afterwards, when it's on the 8th of Zulhijjah, you put on your Ihram again for your Hajj. So these are the three types of work. However, to many scholars, discussions have gone about which is the best. All of them are allowed. But the one that Prophet Islam actually did was Hajj Tamattu, and which a lot of people do. Especially for those of us maybe from our own part of the country, Nigeria, we all enjoy Tamattu, and many other people around the world. So my own description is going to be more about the Hajj Tamattu. Now, when you want to put on your Ihram, so the first thing, whether you want to perform Hajj, whether you want to perform Umrah, but because you are going in for Hajj Tamattu. I said that's what I'm going to use. So you have to be in the state of Ihram. Being in the state of Ihram means that you have to put on your Ihram at some specific points. And those points are known as the miqat. The miqat. You must not cross those miqat before you put on your Ihram. Once you cross it, then you are required to do some fidya. You have to atone for it. So there are different types of miqat. For those who are coming from Medina, they have the Zul Ulefa. Those of us coming from Africa, Europe, going down to Saudi Arabia, you go through the Jofa, Al Jofa. Most of the time, if you are going like that, you cross Jofa before you land in Jeddah. And that's why most of the time you put on your Ihram before crossing it. Then from those who are coming from Najd, the Jews calling Monazil, those from Yemen, their own is Yalamlam. So whichever one, you must know your location. Where are you coming from? But most pilgrims, they first either go to Medina first, and from there they move to Mecca. So there they take their Ihram from Zul Ilefa. But if you are going directly, landing in Jeddah, take your Ihram further because the intention must be made at the Miqat. So that won't be announced to you in the plane that you are crossing the Miqat because you cross it before you land in Jeddah. So you must have put on your Ihram and then you move on to them. So what are the states if I now want to put on the Ihram? You can put on your Ihram many points in time before you get to the Miqat. But that will not mark your being in a state of Ihram until when you have done the intention. So how do you put on your Ihram? The first thing is that it is recommended that you perform the visual bath, the ghusl. The ghusl is like what you do when you do janaba, you do the ghusl after your menstruation, the same way. However, this time around, the intention is that I want to put on a Ihram to do Umrah. And if it is Hajj, to do Hajj. So that ghusl is performed. Now you put on your Ihram. For the male, the Ihram are just two pieces of clothes. Just two things that one you wrap from the navel down, and the one they call the Rida that you use to cover the upper part of your body. And you are not putting on any other thing underneath it. So you don't put on any other garment apart from those two pieces of cloth that you are going to use. That is for the male. However, for the female, as Allah loves the female, what Allah SWT has given them some opportunity to put on any clothing that they have. As long as it has covered parts of their body, they are covered. So they can use it for their Ihram. So they should not just expose those areas that they need to expose. And for those who are in the niqab, who are used to the niqab, when they're in the Ihram, they need to remove the niqab. They won't use it like the normal niqab they will use, but they can actually draw it down so that people may not actually look at their faces. So that is on the issue of the Ihram. So after performing the ghusl, you put on your Ihram. So, which is there. So the same thing for women, apart from the niqab, no niqab is allowed, and they're not expected to use gloves too. So once you have done that, you are allowed, it's optional. You can now perform 2 rakah salat. Like I said, it is optional. It is not a compulsory thing. Most especially when you do it at the court, it's allowed. Islam just love that. At that point in time, you do. And it is time for salat. Just observe the salat at that time. That is when you are put on your ihram. But you are not yet in a state of ihram until you now bring about your intention, the niyyah. So the niyyah is very clear. Of all the intentions in Islam, all acts of worship in Islam, you are not expected to utter the intention out on your tongue. It stays in your mind. If I want to observe salat, I don't need to utter it out. However, the only exception is Hajj and Umrah. You utter those intentions out. So what is the intention? If you are doing Umrah, it is as simple as Allahumma labbaika Umrah. Oh Allah, I am hearkening to your call to perform Umrah. And if it is Hajj, Allahumma labbaika Hajjan. Oh Allah, I am hearkening to your call to perform Hajj. So once you have brought that intention, then you are in a state of fear. And because you are in a state of Ihram, some things become forbidden for you to do at that point in time. So you cannot cut your nails again, either with scissors or with blade or with your teeth. You are not supposed to pluck any hair from your body. For a man, you are not supposed to use anything to cover your head. Put you on your head like a cap or whatever. You can hold an umbrella, no problem. So you can't do that. You can't hunt, you can't solemnize marriage and some of those things. So you cannot do it at that point in time. And you can't have any relationship with your wife or your spouse. So because you are in a state of Ihram, now you now start with the talbiyah. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. So that's why Allah, we are hearkening to your call, because all praises and all favors belongs to you. And we are not going to associate any partner with you. But there is nobody that is there. So that talbiyah will now continue to utter it because you're already in the state of Ihram. So it means for you doing your Umrah, there are 4 stages, 4 things you have to do for your Umrah. So the first one is the Ihram, which is what we have simply described for us. So once you have done that from the Mikot, you are on course. Like I said, once you cross the Mikot, you are going to atone for it. So the other option for you is to just go back. When you get to Mecca, go back to the Mikot of the people of Mecca and start your Umrah all over again. So that's the only way that can excuse you. Otherwise, you'll be liable to atone for it. So that's the first thing. So once you are in the state of Ihram, you can now move in to where you want to perform, go to Mecca, go to the Masjid Haram, where you are now going to do the second stage of your Umrah. And that second stage is known as the Tawaf. Tawaf means circumambulating round the house of Allah, the Kaaba, 7 times. So now, because you are doing Tawaf of Umrah, you know, when you are putting your redoubt, the upper part of the body, you cover every part of your body, just like you use a towel around your top. But when you want to now perform your Umrah, which is ordinarily known as the Tawaful Qudum, that's what they usually call it. It's also the Tawaf of Umrah. Because the one that you are arriving in Mecca, you have the intention of. So the first thing you must do is that you must ensure that your right shoulder is exposed. You open up your right shoulder, expose. The left shoulder must be covered, but the right shoulder will be exposed. That is to say, I am performing Tawaful Qudum, Tawaf for Umrah. So once you have exposed that, then you start your. You are going to locate the Hajar al-Aswad. That is where we are starting from. Because of the crowd, normally you are supposed to move near this, so, but because of the crowd, you may not be able to get close. However, one of the ways by which you can locate where the Hajar al-Aswad is, if you just look around the mosque that surrounds the Hajar al-Aswad, you are going to see a green light there. That green light, directly opposite that green light, is where the Hajar al-Aswad is. But some people don't know where to start. You see people kissing so many parts of the Kaaba, so you may be confused. see the starting point. But for you not to be confused, just search for the green light. It's very conspicuous. Just back it, you'll be facing Hajar al-Aswad. So that is your starting point. The Sunnah of Islam is that go to Hajar al-Aswad, kiss it. And you say, if you can't kiss, you touch it and use your hand and kiss your hand. And if you can't do that, just point to it. And once you are pointing, you are not kissing because you have not touched Hajar al-Aswad. So you start by saying, Bismillahi Allahu Akbar. That is how you start. Bismillahi Allahu Akbar. So from there, you can now start moving around. So you now start going, you are going anti-clockwise. That's how you go. Anti-clockwise. And then you do any askar that is convenient for you. Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. And any other thing. Just continue to do as Allah makes it easy for you. So that's why you prepare yourself with so many askar that you can do and dua can do at that point in time. So move around. So the first corner is the front corner, this is called the Rukn Hajar al-Aswad. Then you move to the next corner, second one, in between where you find the Hijr, the third corner. Then when you get to the fourth corner, that corner is known as Ruknul Yamani. So you start counting the first four corners. Hajar al-Aswad is first one, the next one, second one, the third one. In between, you see a semi off like that. That's called Hijr. Then the next one is going to be the last before the Hajar al-Aswad corner again. It's known as Ruknul Yamani. At that point in time, brothers, if you have opportunity of touching it, you can touch. But because of the crowd, you don't need to touch anybody. Just move on your own lane. So for that point, you now change your askar. And the askar now will be Rabbana Atina fi dunya hasanata wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. That is what you now do between Rukn Yamani and then Hajar al-Aswad. So once you now get back to Hajar al-Aswad, you have finished one shout. That is one round. That's a shoutul awwal. That's the first round. So you do the same thing. Allahu Akbar. But this time around, when you are pointing to the Kaaba, you not say Bismillah again because you have started. Just say Allahu Akbar and you continue. The same process. Ruknu Yamani, you do the Rabbana Atina and again until you finish the seventh round. Now, it is recommended if there is no crowd for those of us who are male. When you are doing the rounds, the first 3 rounds, you are expected to jog if it is convenient. But if it's not coming because of the crowd, Islam does not want us to inconvenience people and start pushing them. It's wrong. You are hurting people. You are even affecting the reward you are going to get. So if you can't do it, just do your work. So once you have done that, you have finished your shout. That's the whole of the 7 rounds. So what is now expected for you is to observe 2 rakah of salat. So that 2 rakah of salat is what you are going to now do. You are expected to do it at Maqam Ibrahim, but it's no, that's not even convenient. So anywhere in the mosque, observe your 2 rakah. First rakah, Suratul Fatiha, Suratul Kafirun. Second rakah, Suratul Fatiha, Suratul Ikhlas. That is what is recommended by the Prophet Sallallahu. So once you have done that, you are done with your tawaf. So you have finished the second stage of the Umrah, the second step. So you are allowed to go and take Zemzem. If I say recommended you take Zemzem, I say when it's in Ramadan anyway. If you are not fasting, take Zemzem as much as you can. Pray over it. Prophet Islam said, "More Zemzem, more shuribala." More bottle of Zemzem is for whatever you drink it for. Whatever prayer you observe, want to request, drink it, and you are in it. So once you have done that, you now go to the 3rd stage of your Umrah, which is the Sa'i. The Sa'i is now between Safa and Marwa. So once you get there, you're going to locate the Safa. There's a small mount there. So once you get there, now, note one thing. When you are observing your 2 rakah, I want to mention that. When you are doing the Tawaf al-Qudum, you exposed the right shoulder. So the moment you finish your Tawaf, you want to observe the Salat, you have to cover your right shoulder. Because in prayer, it is part of your Hawrah. So it must be covered. So people make the mistake of still exposing the right shoulder. You must cover it when you're observing your 2 rakah. So when you get to the Safa Mount, you are going there, you face the Kaaba. It's recommended you face the Kaaba and you make some prayers. One of the things you say is in the Safa wal Marwa min sha'air, if you know it. Then Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So, and then do some other supplication. That's the minimum. You do that, then you go. So you are moving from Safa to Marwa. So you now walk from Safa to Marwa. While you are walking down, you engage in askar too. Now, along the line, you move on, you are going to, if you look at the wall, on the wall, you see a green light, you meet it along the line. That green light signifies a point where you expected to jog for those of us who are male. Female are not supposed to do anything. The male are expected to jog. So you see the first green light, you start your jogging, a slight jogging. Then the second green light, you stop it. And you continue to walk. That you do from Safa to Marwa. So when you get to Marwa, again, you face the Kaaba exactly like you did at the beginning. In the Marwa, Safa wa Marwa bi sha'airillah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah, la sharika lah. And then under that dua, you do the same. And then you move back. So from your Safa to Marwa, that is one round. Because we are doing 7. So when you get to Marwa, you are coming back to Safa. That's the second round. So the same thing that happened when you are going from Safa to Marwa, you are going to see the green lights too. 2-1, jog a little bit, and then move on. So from your Marwa back to Safa, that's the second round. So you now move again, Safa to Marwa, third round, and that's how you are going to do, and you ensure it counts 7. So it means you are starting your Sayu from Safa, and you are ending it at Marwa. Some people make the mistake of saying the 2 counting as well. Eventually, they'll be doing 14 instead of 7. That's when you are doing Sa'i. Once you have finished at Marwa, the 7th round, you do face the Kaaba, do supplication, and that is the end of your Umrah. So the next tip for you is to cut your hair. If you are going to perform Hajj, you are allowed to just cut it, which is better because you are still going to need your hair. But you are not doing anything, you can shave it. For the women, they only cut a bit of their hair, just a little piece of it to signify the end of their Umrah. So once you have done that, then that's what they call the tahallul. That's the first stage. First stage of tahallul. You are taking away, ending your Umrah. Either trim your hair, cut a bit for the women, and that marks the end of your Umrah. So you can now remove that. So the rise of Umrah has been finished, has been completed. So you are now waiting for your Hajj. So that is for Umrah. Now, for Hajj, you now wait until the 8th of Zulhijjah, which is known as Yawmu Terwiyah. On the 8th of Zulhijjah, you are going to put on your Ihram again. But this time around, you are not going to enemy courts. You are putting it on from your accommodation, whether it's an hotel, whether it's a house, that's where you are putting it on. And you are putting up the intention to. So this time around, Allahumma labbaika hajjan, because you are doing Hajj. So you put up the intention and put on your Ihram there. So where you are going to move, the buses that will take you to Mina for your Hajj, right? So the same thing you do, putting on your Ihram, not putting on anything, that's what you are going to do. And then you move to Mina. That day is called Yawmu Terwiyah. Ordinarily in Arabic language, Terwiyah means taking water, drinking. So you are taking water to quench your thirst. So that's what it means. So, because those days you need to walk in the sun. But now, maybe because they carry us in buses and we don't actually feel that pain there, but that's what it means. So on that day, you're getting there. So you're expected to move there after Salah to Subhi. Of that, on the 8th, you move to Mina. So in Mina, what you're only expected to do there is to engage in askar, and observe Salat. Your Salat there, all your 5 daily prayers are going to be observed there. Now, the uniqueness of the prayers is that all the 4 rakah Salat, you are going to shorten them to 2. However, you are not doing jamu. You are not combining 2 Salat. You are observing Sur at the time of Sur, observing Asri at the time of Asri, Maghrib at the time of Maghrib, Isha at the time of Isha, and Subui at the time of Subui. So it means you are observing the recess 5 daily prayers in Mina. Each one of them at their time. But the 4 rakats, Zul, Asri, and Isha, you bring them, you shorten them to 2. So that is all you are expected to. So you are supposed to be in a state of spirituality, engage in askar, engage in dua. It is not for us to come there and be talking. That is not it, because you are already in the state of Hajj. And that's where it starts. So after Salat Subuhi, when the sun has come up a little, which is on the night, that's the second day of Hajj. That is the day of Arafah, Yawmul Arafah. Yawmul Arafah, the day of Arafah. So you are expected to now move from Mina to Arafah. The idea is that leave their starting point is when the sun comes up a little bit. That's when you're expected to start moving. But the ending point, you can get to Arafah anytime as long as you are there by Maghrib. So the issue of rushing, is there. As long as you are there by Maghrib, you are part of Arafah. They only want you to spend a part of the night there. So even if you have some delays, there's no problem. However, you get there early, maybe to perform all the rites of Arafah when you get there. So when you are getting to Arafah, they call it Al-Wukuf bil Arafah. It's like you are standing at Arafah. So you do a lot of standing up there. Nobody is going to any mountain. There's no Mount Arafah. Arafah is a plain, not a mount. Jabalu Nur, Jabalu this, you don't climb it because it's not part of your Hajj rights. But stay whatever plane you find yourselves. So at that point in time, you're expected to make dua, to seek forgiveness of Allah. And the best of dua you do on the day of Rafah. The Prophet Islam said, the best dua that he and the prophets before him made is La ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lahu, lahul mulk wa lahul hamd, yuhyi wa yumit, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. That prayer is what you should do more. Do it as many times because that's the prayers made by the prophets and other prophets, brother prophets who had come before him. Then you engage in so many ascribes. Because Islam said the day of Arafah is a day when Allah will come down to the heavens and look for people. Who are those seeking forgiveness that will forgive? Who are those seeking Rahman that will give? So it is one of the days when supplications are answered. And that's why we don't joke with it. So you stay there. So when it is time for Salatul Zuhr, then you observe your Salatul Zuhr. And you observe it combined with Asr. So now there's supposed to be the khutbah. Normally there's supposed to be a central khutbah, but that won't be done at the central mosque where the Prophet Islam actually stayed. But because we are far away from the place, scholars have allowed that whenever you find yourself in your own location, your own tent, you can also observe your own khutbah. So the khutbah is done before the salat. So somebody comes up, give a khutbah, and afterwards you observe your salat. So salat to Zuhr and Asri, 2 rakah. Start up, do the come again, then Asri, 2 rakah. So then you continue with your supplication and dua. Now, when it is now time nearing the time of sunset, it is recommended, like what Islam usually do, that you now stand on your feet and engage in a lot of supplication till when it is sunset. Because it is a time when prayers are answered. You can start at any point in time because it's wukuf. But when it's going after your asri and it's getting towards sunset, stand up. The longer you stand, the better for you, the more rewarding you get. But if you don't have the strength, always sit down. Stand a little, sit down. But ensure that at one point or the other, you are on your feet, supplicating to Allah, facing the Kaaba, till when it is sunset. And once it is sunset, then the day of Arafah has actually ended. So after sunset, you have to be at Arafah by sunset. The sun must set. Maghrib must set in before you leave Arafah. You don't leave before Maghrib. It means you have not completed, because you are not only going to spend the day, part of the day, you will spend part of the night there. And that night is signified by the setting in of the sun, the coming in of Maghrib. So after you have done that, now move to Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah, one of the significance of Hajj is that in Mina, they'll give you a tent. In Arafah, they'll give you a tent. But in Muzdalifah, there are no tents. So most of the time, you sleep on the floor. Everybody find a way to sleep. So you just have to take maybe your mat or whatever. That's where all of you will sleep, without no separation amongst you. So at Muzdalifah, what you're expected to do is to observe your Maghrib and Isha. Even though Maghrib meets you in Arafah or at Arafah, you are not expected to observe it at Arafah. You are expected to observe it at Muzdalifah. So no matter how late you leave Arafah, you should not observe Maghrib and Isha. You go and observe your Maghrib and Isha at Muzdalifah. So when you get to Muzdalifah, observe your Maghrib and Isha. At that point in time, do your askar, then you can pick pebbles and you are going to go and throw the next day. So you wait till after you sleep over, after Salatul Subhi, observe your Subhi same way at Muzdalifah. After Subhi, when the sun comes down, you are supposed to go to Mosharul Arab. It's another mosque, but you can't get there. So what is recommended is that you just stand up, face the Qibla, make some supplication, and then you move. Yeah, so you can pick all the pebbles you need, either 72 or depending on us. Because the first day you are throwing 7, the second day you are throwing 21, the next day 21, which is 49. If you have to the extra one, 21, which makes 70. So you can pick some of your pebbles there and everything around the Muzdalifah. Then after Subi, the 9th day, which is called the Eid day, Yawmul Eid, for those of us who are at home. So Yawmul Dhabwi, for those of us who are in Makkah. So you now move from there to the Jamrah. Logistics may take you to have to go to your tent first in Mina before going to Jamrah, depending on the logistics by the Saudi authority. So whichever one, to the Jamrah. The Jamrah is where you are going to do the toning. On that 10th day, you are toning 7 pebbles. There are 3 spots: Jamratul Ula, Al-Wusta, Al-Akbar, Asgar, Wusta, Al-Akbar. So you are going to Jamratul Akbar, the big one. That's where you are toning. So when you are going, the first one, no. The second one, no. The third one. So on that one, you are throwing 7 pebbles. There is a big wall. You have something carved around it. Your pebble is expected to touch the wall of going there. So you hold your pebble. Bismillah. You throw it. Bismillah. Throw until you throw 7 of the pebbles. So now the pebbles are supposed to be pebbles, not big stones, so that you not hurt people. Pick small pebbles and then you do it. So once you have done that, you can face the Kaaba, make supplication, and then you go. So once you have done the throwing of this pebble, you are now expected to do 2 other things. While you are all doing this, you are still in your ihram. But if you do 2 other things in addition to the stoning of the pebble, then you can remove your ihram. That's what they call at-ta'adul ula, the first freedom you are having, but not full. So the ta'adul ula, after throwing the pebbles, you can slaughter your animal. Now, you can't do it yourself again. You have people you pay to, and they will do it on your behalf. You can do one other things to apart from either you do that or you shave your hair or trim it as the case may be, or do tawaful wada or tawaful ifada, which is the tawaful hajj, where you go back to Makkah. So you can go there on that day to Makkah to do your tawaf, just like you did the tawaful kudum, you do the tawaf and the sa'i. That's what they call tawaful ifada. Or you can delay that one until when you leave Mina. But once you have done, apart from stoning, you have done either slaughtering your animal, shaving your hair, then you can remove that ihram cloth from your body and put on the normal clothing. So that's the tahallul ula, al-awwal, the first tahallul that you have done for yourself. So in that case, you can put on your normal clothing, engage your scarf, observe your salat there. In Mina, continue to observe your salat, Zuhr, Asri, two raka at the right time, continuously. So then on the 11th day again, after sunrise, then you now move again to the Jamrah. But this time around, you are throning 28, 21. The first one, 7. Once you do the 7th, throning, stay to face the Kaaba, observe some dua. Move to the next Jamrah, 7 pebbles, face the Kaaba, dua. Then you move to the third one, throw your 7 pebbles, there is no dua, just go. So you are making supplication on the first Jamrah and the second Jamrah and not on the third one. Then you move. So that's on the 11th day. Then the same thing happens on the 12th day. And among all these days, you can decide to go to Haram, Makkah to go and do your Umrah or your Tawaful Ifada. So, but it's not compulsory. You can still delay it until when you go back. So, once you have done the 12th day, for those who want to do Ta'ajjala, who want to move early, can leave after you're doing your stoning and go back to Makkah. And then go and do your Tawaful Ifada. But if you want to do Ta'akhara, you want to extend your own days, you can do the 13th day. But I'm sure a lot of us want to just live on the 12th day because of the stress that is there. Not so convenient. So many people cannot face it. But if you decide on your own, you want to do 13th day, and those who take you their agents or company are able to allow it, then you do that. So you now go back to Makkah. So then, if you have not done your Tawaful Ifada, go and do it. That one includes Tawaf and Sa'i. It includes Tawaf and Sa'i, just like you did when you are doing your Tawaful Kudum for Umrah. Same thing, and you should now end your, because you don't need to shave any hair again, because you'll have done that after when you are in Mina. And that signifies the end of the main Hajj rites. So what is now remaining is that when you are now going back home, you are prepared to go back home, just go and do what you call your Tawaful Wada, the farewell Tawaf. In that one, you're only doing the Tawaf 7 rounds. There is no Sa'i that is involved. So these are the practical steps that you take when you are performing Hajj. However, to end, something I want us to take note of when you are getting there. Number one is that when you are doing your Hajj, one thing that is very important for you is patience. Patience and humility. It's a crowded environment. This is not so convenient because we are not in our rooms. We are always in our homes, especially for the period of Hajj. But we have to be patient. We have to be patient. If not, you'll be pushing people, you'll be fighting people. And that's what Allah said. Wala rafasa, wala fusuko, wala jidala fil hajj. You are not even supposed to be arguing. You're not supposed to do acts that are wrong. And you can't control those ones if you are not patient. Secondly, you need to engage in a lot of askar. Engage in recital of the Quran, because it is the period for such things. So all other distraction should be set aside. In the same vein, you need to relate to people very well, because you are going to have people from different backgrounds. Assist with those who need assistance, show kindness to those who need to show kindness, respect people's respect public faces, so that this will be convenient for others, and then follow all the necessary guidelines, because these are part and parcel of what people would do. So some errors that people usually, we have mentioned them, I'll just recount. Going to Iran after crossing the Mikot is an error which you have to avoid. Then not completing the number of rounds for Tawaf or Sa'i, so you have to be cautious. Delaying your Ramyu beyond sunset, because you're supposed to do it before sunset, which is better for you. Then when you're in Iran, all the issue of using perfume, clipping nails, having intimacy, these are errors that we should avoid engaging ourselves in that point in time. So these are important things. If you look at the whole of the process of Hajj, round up my discussion, you see that it is a spiritual rebirth for our souls. It's supposed to mark a new beginning. Prophet Islam said, whoever performs Hajj, alam yarfas, alam yafsu, said, and does not commit obscenity, does not commit injustice, wrongdoing. He said, Roger Yaumi Waladatu Ummu is going to come back home like the day that his mother gave birth to him. So it means we are going to be free of sin. So it's actually a spiritual rebirth for us. So which means that we do it very well. And it has a lot of other lessons for us in it. It's social equality. Because at that point, when you're all of are in Iran, you don't know who is different, who is the rich man, who is the poor man. You are all there. So it allows you to be able to see that, and not our say, we're all the same. So whatever ego we have, we know that we should bring it down. And then we know that Allah has promised us reward for it. Worldly reward and the eternal reward. Because Allah said, Yesh adu monafi Allah. We are going to have to witness some benefits that cannot be described. Worldly and spiritual or eternal. So we pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us the opportunity to be able to perform Hajj and to be able to do it right. So this is just Hajj and Umrah in simple practical steps that we can do within the time limit that we have. It's actually supposed to be a discussion that we'll do on series. Just have to manage our time. Pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from us out of worship. كل قولي هذا استغفر الله ولكم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاكم الله خيرا Ustad. I must say, I don't think I've enjoyed a seminar or a lecture on Hajj and Umrah as I've enjoyed this one. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew, and we know that I actually meant that. I've written a lot of things and I think I fully understand it a little. I mean, inshallah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to summarize very quickly the first part of it, and I'm going to ask you questions just to see you all understand it. We do that for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then I know you have a lot of questions, and I'll allow questions after that. If that's okay with Ustad. Is that okay? Can I do that, Ustad?
No problems. I can go on.
Inshallah, Jazakumullah khairan. So the Ustad started with the fact that the purpose of Hajj and Umrah are two things. Number one is to cleanse our sins, and number two is to save us from poverty, which sounds a little bit opposite to what a lot of people would think, that you spend a lot of money going to Umrah or Hajj. But if you do that sincerely for the sake of Allah, inshallah, one of the aims of it is to move you away from poverty, which I'm sure we all want. He quoted the verse in Surah to Ali Imran, verse 97, on the purpose of Hajj itself. And then he went on to explain to us some of the differences between Hajj and Umrah. The first thing he mentioned is the fact that Hajj is an obligation at least once in our lifetime. If you want to do it more after that, that will be sunnah for you. But the first time, it's an obligation. While Umrah is sunnah to mu'akkada, a very stressed sunnah that we can do as many times as we want. The second difference is the fact that Hajj has specific timing. It starts on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, and it goes on for 5 to 6 days, depending on which way. If one of the late, as he already explained to us. But Umrah can be done at any time, as long as the people, the authority in Mecca are allowing us to do it. So that's another difference between Hajj and Umrah. And then he went on to say, in terms of the difference when it comes to the rites and the things that you actually do in either Hajj or Umrah. And then that's the summary of the introduction it gave to us. And it went on to talk about Hajj and Umrah itself. So going on to Umrah, the Sheikh mentioned to us that there are four things, apart from the preparation he mentioned, there are four things that is involved in Umrah. Who can tell me what those four things are? Please, you can unmute yourself now, inshallah. I've given you the right to do that now. You can unmute yourself and shout out, or if you want to raise your hands, let's do that quickly, please. Just to make sure we've understood. He mentioned four things that we could do or that we have to do for Umrah. People are not in for this. I'm getting excited, but no one is excited with me. Allah musta'an. I'm going to call names, Sami, Faddal, Faddal. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaikum salam rahmatullah.
If I'm not wrong, I think number one, the intention, ihram, tawaf, the sa'i, and then the cutting of hair. But that's five. You said four.
It's four. The intention comes with the ihram itself.
Okay.
That's what ihram is. So ihram is not the actual clothes that you wear. The ihram is the intention that you are in a state of ihram. And that's why he mentioned to us as well that you can even wear your clothes before you leave wherever you're leaving from. But before you cross the miqat, you have to, make that intention that you want to do Umrah. And he mentioned as well that the intention is that's the only time we actually allow to see our intention out. So it is the ihram. Number two is the tawaf. Number three is the sa'i. And number four is the tahallul, as they call it, which is shaving the hair. Jazakillahu khairan. That was really, really good. Then in terms of the ihram itself, I think I've already mentioned it. How do you make the ihram? Who can tell me the intention, how you say the intention for Umrah, for example? Anyone? Okay.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة مبتدأ تفضل
نعم لبيك الأمرة.
لا اللهم لبيك على العمرة and for Hajj will be لبيك
اللهم لبيك الحج.
Hajj نعم جزاك الله خير, and that's very good, very good. Now it mentioned there are three types of somebody else want to say something? It mentioned that as well, that there are three types of Hajj that we could do. Who can tell me what those three types are?
Is it Tamattu, Ifrad, and Kiran?
Jazakallahu khairan Farida. Now, who can tell me the differences between those three? So Tamattu, Qiran, and Ifrad. What are the differences between them? Somebody else know Farida? What's the difference? That's important though, because you have to decide which one you want to do. So what's Tamattu? Who can tell me what Tamattu is?
Ifrad Hajj only, Tamattu and Qiran Hajj and Umrah, but the difference between both is that for Qiran, you don't go out of state of Iran.
So you stay and you continue.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khairan. Jazakallah khairan, Sheikhana. Ahlan wa sahlan. Now, if you're in a state of ihram, it makes some few things haram for you to do. Who can name some of them for me? You can type as well if you want, by the way. So if you're in a state of ihram, the few things are haram for you to do. Can I conduct a marriage? Yes or no? Type as well if you want. Can I conduct a marriage in ihram? Maybe, mashallah, you found somebody that you really want to marry. Can you do that? Go for kokokbayemiji, as they say. No, you can't. Jazakallah khairan. Jazakumullah khairan. Now, any other thing? Can you cut your nails? People are not talking.
No, you can't cut your nails, and I think shaving of the hair, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, until after the end, your pubic hair and your armpit hair, you can't do that. So you can't pluck them. No sexual relationship with our spouses. No hunting of animals. I can see it on the group. No, no perfume as well. And for men, you can't use the hat cap. Yeah, for men. Don't forget, for women, it's a little bit different. Like you explained to us, you can wear your normal clothing, not the wrong one. And for men as well, you can't wear, underwear or things like that. It just has to be fully the ihram clothes. Naam, jazakumullahu khairan. Excellent. Now the tawaf. The first tawaf that we do when we are doing tamattu, we're now focusing on tamattu. The first tawaf, what's it called? That tawaf that we do, what's it called? Because there are a few tawaf in the rite of Hajj itself. The very first one that we do as part of the Umrah is called. Can type as well. I'm looking. Time is in low. Yeah, Kevin, let's go. Let's go. 5 more minutes.
Kudum.
Now?
Kudum.
Now, tawaf al-Qudum. And we do how many times do we do the tawaf? And where do we start from? 7 times. Jazakumullahu khairan. And where do we start from? From Hajjatul Aswad. Now? The green light. I like that one.
The green light.
I would accept that. The green light, yes. We start at the Hajjatul Aswad. And when do we make that dua? What corner do we make the dua? رَبَّنَا آتِينَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. What corner do we make that dua? And what's the corner called? Yemeni corner? That wasn't what I heard. I might be wrong though.
The Rukn
What corner?
al-Yamin.
Yes. Ruknun?
After you Rukn al-Yamin.
Naam, Yemin, not Yemeni. Is it? Is it the same thing? Ustaz can correct us. Yeah, the fourth corner, definitely. I think it's called Yemin or Yemeni. I don't know. Allah Alam on that. And then, yeah, he did mention to us that if we were starting our tawaf from the Hajjatul Aswad, the sunnah itself is for us to kiss it, right? If we can't kiss it, what are the other options we have? He mentioned 2 other options.
You can touch the black stone
And then?
or point towards it.
Yeah, those are the 2, but the first one you mentioned, you can touch the black stone and then kiss your hand. Yeah. But the third
Oh,
one, you can
okay.
only point, then you don't kiss your hand. Yeah. You mentioned that as
Yeah.
well. Jazakumullahu khairan. So that's that. And then after the tawaf, then we move on to sa'i. Where do we start the sa'i from? Sa'i, obviously, that's Safa and Marwa. Where do we start it from? Do we start from Safa? Yeah, we start from Safa. And then we do 7. How do we count the 7? Who can explain to us how we count the 7? The 7 sa'i. So for moving from Safa to Marwa, would that be 1 or half? We go anti-clockwise is nothing to do with sa'i.
That's
tawaf, yeah?
1.
So Safa to Marwa is 1. Then so that means we end the sa'i where?
At
Where do we?
Marwa.
Marwa, jazakumullahu khairan. So in the middle of the Safa or Marwa, we'll reach a green light, and from that green light, what do we do? For men especially. The first green light, what do we do?
Men are meant to jog.
We jog. Yeah, we don't run, yeah? Because some people do have some race there. We don't run, we don't have to sprint. Jazakumullahu khairan. Excellent. So once we've complete, obviously the best dua, once we complete, or at each area in Safa and Marwa, you're supposed to make dua as well. There are specific dua. There's a verse of the Quran that you mentioned, which I can't remember the actual verse in the Quran that you read in the Safa wal Marwa min sha'air, and it goes on. I can't remember the verse fully as well. Yes, and after that, after the sa'i, what's next? Is the 4th one, isn't it? The 4th one, which is to cut the hair. For those who are going to be doing Hajj afterwards, just shorten it a little bit. Women are supposed to shorten a little bit as well. Then and then when you finish Hajj, then you can shave it entirely. For men, for women, I don't know, you don't shave your hair. But I think you cut it a little bit as well. And that completes the Umrah part of things. For those who are doing tamattu, at this stage, they can take off their ihram, and all those things that become haram can become halal again. And then the very first day of Hajj is called what? What's the name of the day? And what day is it? What's the name of the day where the Hajj rite starts?
Tarwiyah.
Yawmu Tarwiyah.
Tarwiyah.
Tarwiyah, yes. What's the meaning of Tarwiyah? I did mention it. I can't remember myself, but who can
You
remind us?
drink lots of water.
Love water. Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Ridwan. Ahyakumullah. Yes, so that's the Altaria. That's when the Hajj rite starts. And then you assume Ihram again, just like you did for your Umrah. But this time you don't need to go to the Miqat. You do it from wherever you are. And then you make your way to, where do you go first on the day, on day 8?
Go to Mina.
Go to
Go to
Mina
Mina. Jazakumullah khairan. And when do you go to Mina on day 8? After Maghrib or after Isha?
after
When?
Subuhi.
After Subh, naam. And then you do a lot of adhkar. In the Mina, you get a lot of tents there. So you stay in your tent, you make a lot of dua. You pray your salat, all, 4 rakat and in their time, 2 or 4.
Pause.
What's 2 then?
Yes, to pray 2 rakah.
2
And
rakat for the 4
for
units
the
prayers.
yes, and at the time of the salat.
Yeah, you
have
don't
to
do
do
jamal.
qasri.
You do qasri, but you don't do
No,
jamal.
no. No. Yes.
Yes, that's it. Now, so then when do you leave Mina again? When do you leave Mina? Yes. So you leave Mina on day 9, the
At the
next day.
time of Maghrib.
No. You leave Mina the next day after Salatul Subh. And where are you going on the day 9? And what's the name of that day? The day of Arafah. Jazakumullah khairan. So you leave after Subh, not after Maghrib. Yeah? You leave the day of Arafah on the Arafah plain. You will leave that on after Maghrib without praying your Maghrib Salah. Then you go on after that. You stand a lot, especially before the sunset on the day of Arafah, and that's when you make dua. And then the best dua that the Prophet ﷺ and the prophets before him had made is which dua? Who can tell me the dua? A very common one. SubhanAllah, this is long. I think I'm going to stop here,
La
inshallah.
ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu
Lahu
yuhyi wa yumeet wa
No,
huwa
no,
ala
no,
kulli
no,
shay'in
no. Yeah.
qadir.
You've added the one you do for when you go to a marketplace. There's just a little difference there. You've added something a little bit onto that. Who can help the sister?
La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu yuhyi wa yumitu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir.
You've added the same thing as well. Am I the wrong person? The
Ah.
you
You remove you meet.
Yes, so you are
La
yumeet.
No.
So
La
it's la
ilaha
ilaha
illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa ala kulli shay'in qadir.
The you
Okay.
what you miss is the one you add when you go to a marketplace. Yeah?
But that was what
Okay.
he said though.
Yeah?
But that was what he
That's
said.
what
He
he
had
said
it
though.
why you
Okay,
meet.
okay,
What
1
is
minute,
that?
1 minute. Correct us. That's what I thought. I thought I heard something
That's
different.
what the sheikh
Doctor,
said.
he
He
said it
had
another
it
body.
why you meet.
Okay. Sheikh Hanan, help us out. Hello, Ustad. Maybe I'm mistaken then. Now, if that's what the stake say, that's fine. I think we'll stop there. You can go back to this lecture, which I would encourage everyone to go back on our YouTube channel. It will be there for us. Let's listen to it. Even if you're not going to Hajj, learn this knowledge is very important. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase everyone in Daraja. So I'll go to questions and answer now. Please do ask him. Raise your hand.
Can you say the prayer again, please? La ilaha illallah.
وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد. From what you said that the Sheikh said, then you say yuhyi wa yumit wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. The Sheikh will correct us there, inshallah. I'm sure when we start the question. So if you want to ask any question, do raise your hands, inshallah. Or if you want to type it in the chat area. For those on YouTube, inshallah, you can ask in the chat area on the YouTube, and I'll be able to pick that up for the Ustad as well. We have about 10 minutes for the questions. Apologies for the question and answer. I thought that was important, and it will make us understand it better than we expect. So, Brother Sammy or Sister Sammy, please go ahead and
Yes.
ask it.
Salam
Let's make it
alaikum
brief.
Sabarak. Salam
Wa
alaikum
alaikum
Sabarakat.
salam.
I don't
Wa
know
alaikum
if I have the chance, but I have 3 questions and I'll be very fast with it. I don't know if I have the chance.
No, ask the questions, and then we decide
Okay.
if we can answer them or not.
Yes, I want to say a big Jazakallah Karen to Ustaz. In fact, this is the first Hajj lecture that I'm listening to that is very, very comprehensive. Now, my first question is, when I came for Hajj the first time was in 2004. And then they always tell us to wear Ankara. But I know I'm supposed to like wear my ihram before getting to the mikot and everything. But although I did the ghusl, I had to wear the Ankara. And most times our Nigerians, they tell us that our mikot, it's not as if our mikot, but Nigerians now, our mikot is always Jeddah. But anyway, I donned my ihram at Jeddah and everything. Now, so I just want to find out how far with that one. And then another thing is that some people come to
So, Sister Sammy,
Jeddah
sorry,
here.
sorry. So, what's the
Yes.
first question? Is it okay to don your
No, I think
ihram
what happened to me, I didn't have any choice. I had to wear the Ankara to get to Jeddah here. Because if you don't wear the Ankara, they won't take us. But of course, I'd done my ghusl. I only took the ihram when we got to Jeddah.
Okay, and is that okay? Is the question okay?
Yes,
All
as in, that was then and everything. I didn't have any choice. Now, my second question is, some people normally come to Mecca, as in to Jeddah here, without, maybe they'll tell us that, okay, maybe they forgot to wear the hiram in the mikos and everything. Then there's this masjid, one Ejekalogbe hiram in Masjid Aisha. So I just want to ask Ustaz, how far with Masjid Aisha, as in taking hiram in Masjid Aisha and
Aisha,
everything?
if you miss
Yes.
the first one, Mekot, yeah.
Yes,
Now,
and then now my last question is, I want to believe that the Erotoman, as in the pilgrim, the one they sacrifice, as in that one is different from, as in, can somebody pay them to like come back for Hajj? Can they like pay money home? Okay, this is the one I'm going for Hajj. The would he be yes?
yeah.
I don't know, maybe yes.
So can we
That's
do
the third
the
question.
Hajj slaughtering in
Yes,
another place
back
rather than
home,
Mecca?
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Because I heard it is
Jazakallah khair.
different. I heard it
Yes.
is different than the only Ajman Pagongo is
Inshallah,
different
leave that.
from.
The stars would answer that question,
Okay,
inshallah.
inshallah.
I
Salam
think your
alaikum.
questions are
Jazakallah
all
khairan.
very relevant and very important. So I would allow those three questions. So let's answer those
Jazakallah
first.
khairan.
Ustad Anta Unak.
نعم.
Faddal, Ustad. Please go ahead. So the first question is somebody who actually done their hiram in Jeddah. So not at the Miqat,
Okay.
but they did it in Jeddah.
Okay, like I said,
Would that suffice?
crossing the mikot is an error. One is expected to atone for it ordinarily. That's the right thing. So now what happens to us, especially from, like I said, from those of us from Africa, from Europe, you cross the mikot when you are still on air before you land in Jeddah. So once you were supposed to do is that by the time you are in the plane, they will naturally announce to you that you are crossing the mikot. If for most of these Middle East airline anyway, they will announce to you that you are crossing the mikot. So by that time, you are expected to bring your intention even before you come down. Since you are a woman, whatever clothes you wear is irrelevant. It's only the man that needs to put on the normal 2 pieces of white clothes. The woman, whatever you wear, as long as it's covered, can serve as your ihram. And you can change ihram. You can, even if I put on 2 garments white, it's dirty, I want to change, I can change it. It doesn't vitiate my state of ihram for any reason. So if you had put on, you have said your intention before landing, there's no problem, that's okay. Even if you now change when you get to it, just in Jeddah, and you are now putting on the intention in Jeddah, that is where the error comes in. So ordinarily one is expected to atone for that. But it's a very common error that we do in Nigeria, especially for most people, scholars, they don't actually teach people that they need to do that. So, which put a lot of question marks on most of the Hajj that we do. So, if one has the opportunity of going back to do another one that will do better, I would recommend that. If not, put everything in the hands of Allah and pray that Allah overlook that aspect of it. Well, it's very important that one should be able to atone for it. So that's on that. So crossing the mikot is so Jeddah is not a mikot. It's just an airport. Landing in Jeddah means you have crossed the mikot before you landed.
Now, Jazakumullah khairan, Ustaz. I think that's very well gotten. So the key here is the intention at the Mekot. So your clothing, you can wear it before you leave Nigeria even, and do your ghusl, but at the Mekot, you have to do your intention, according to what Sheikh said. Now, if you have made that mistake,
So
you've
then
not...
it means that, so separate that. Ankara or no Ankara for a woman, Ankara doesn't, even if Ankara can use it as your ihram, it's still okay. So it's not that you have to have some special ihram for a woman, you don't have anything special. Anything you put on is your ihram at that point in time. So if you want to now change to another cloth, you are allowed to do it. That other cloth continues as your ihram now.
Now, Sheikh, you mentioned as well that if, for example, now you've made that mistake, you've not formed your intention at the miqat, now you are in Jeddah. You have two options. One is to atone for it, do some kafara. What is this kafara? And the second question is, you said you could go back to a miqat. So the sister's second question is, is the miqat that Masjid of Aisha? Can you go to that and then you start all
Yes,
over?
that's what the Tanim, we call it Tanim. It's not a Masjid Aisha. It's the miqat for those who are in Makkah, who want to do Umrah from Makkah. So once you miss that, it's allowed better, at least it's a better option. Even though atoning for that, maybe they were okay, you assume that you have not even been in the state of Iran at all. You just found yourself in Makkah. Now you want to now have the intention of Iran, just go to Tanim, put on your Iran, put on the state. So you are now performing Umrah like somebody who is an inmate of somebody staying in Makkah wants to do Umrah. So that's a very easy way, something option for us to be able to take care of the issue of missing the miqat. And it's also allowed for those who are women too. Most of women, they will go to the miqat, maybe they are menstruating and they can't do their Umrah. They are put on their Ihram quite well. They will do their intention at the normal miqat quite well. But the moment they now maybe 2, 3, 4 days after, that's when they now become clean. So what is recommended that they go to that Tanim, because that was the one that Abu Islam asked his wife Aisha, because when they were coming from Medina, she was in a period. So she has to go back. When she now got cleaned, she now went to Tanim. That's why they call it Masjid Aisha. So that assists you to be able to do the right thing better now.
So what's the atonement, Sheikh, if you miss the miqat?
No matter what, as you slaughter a ram.
Okay.
That's
So, and that leads me to the third question of the sister. You know, this Udia that we do, this Udia that we do in Makkah, can somebody decide to do this back home in Nigeria, or it has to be done?
No. The Udia is supposed to be in Makkah and it's in Makkah. So if you ask them to, the one they do, they have eaten a layer. So it's a layer meat they have eaten.
So
at all. So they give them money to do it in Nigeria, and then you pay for the, because it is suspected to be slaughtered at that point. There are slaughtering places where it's supposed to. Ordinarily, those days, I remember my own first Hajj was 1997. You used to go to the Mojsara. You go to the slaughterhouse, you point at the lamb you want. You can even slaughter it yourself. But because of for health reason, and people will bring the meat into the tent, they will start cooking, and our fire incidences happening. That's why they stopped. They banned everybody. So the Mojsara is meant only for official people that have been licensed to do. So you only pay them. And they just, perhaps if they like you, they give you some piece of the meat to show that they have slaughtered on your behalf. You can't do Nigerian homes in lieu of it now.
So, Brother Dikula Adelaja, your question, please.
Wa alaikum salam. Jazakumullah khairan. Even though I joined late, but at least I still enjoyed more of it. My question is not on Hajj, but it's about the Leia. A sister asked me back home that she wants to Leia, even though wants to lose Hajj. She has the means to slaughter. She is still under her husband. According to Leia, we will not affect Leia lodui. So I was skeptical, but I need to more clarify.
You understand the question? So, okay. Sheikh, sorry, I'm cutting this short because of time.
Yeah.
I think you understand.
I believe you understand the question.
Yes, I got the question. Yeah, the issue of Roleya, the one you do for it, you are qualified as long as you are a matured person, you are a baligh, you have reached the age of maturity, and you have the means of doing that, then you are qualified. So even if you are not married, and I am matured and I have the means of doing it, it is my duty to do it. So the husband will do it, so the wife will also do her own. So you don't need to go to Hajj before you are qualified for it. What is important is that you're a Muslim, you are a baligh, and you have the means to do it. That's what qualifies you. So she's totally qualified once she has that she can do it. So her husband will do and she will also do us. That makes the difference.
Jazakumullah khairan. Brother Usman, your question, please.
Jazakumullah khairan.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum.
The question is just more about the Mikot, just more of clarification. My understanding is that for people who are normally resident in Makkah, they can, I think you mentioned about they can take their Ihram from their homes and go for Umrah. And that the other, what I've heard as well is that most of the Aisha usually will be for people who are visiting in Mecca. And so for people who have missed their Mikot while they are traveling, so you're traveling on an airline that wouldn't tell you when you've got into the Mikot. At that point, would it be safe for you to go to Masjid Aisha to then take the Ihram, or would you have to then pay compensation for having not taken Ihram at the right place?
Okay, like I said, Masjid Tan'im is actually meant for those who are in Makkah who want to perform Umrah. Even if it is Umrah, the only thing you take from your house is your Ihram for Hajj. You can take that one from your room, from your accommodation. But if it is for Umrah, you're supposed to go to a Mikot. So, and that's why Islam defined that place. They call it Tan'im. It's actually meant for those who are there to go into it. So, because, those in Mecca, it's much easier for them to not be there. But for those of us who are coming outside, you're supposed to take your Ihram before you even get to Mecca at all. That's what makes the difference. But if you miss it and you have a course to do it, your Umrah there, rather than just going to do Umrah, go back there and take your Ihram appropriately. And that's where you can go to Tan'im, take your Ihram appropriately, and then you go ahead with your Umrah. Now, for like I said, a menstruating woman who are taking the Ihram at the appropriate point, but because she was not clean, she couldn't do her Umrah. 3, 4, 5 days after, the chances that she will have violated some of those rules are high. So what we recommend that she now go to the Tan'im and take her, just like Islam recommended for Aisha, and then she comes in. That one, she will not atone for anything. But if you come and you mix it, even though you are going to go there, it's still better for you to do the atonement so that you know that your Umrah is complete, at least as the best way you can. Now.
Jazakumullah khairan. I think for the last few minutes, there are no hands raised. If you can tell us, for those of us not going on Hajj or Umrah at this time, the first 10 days, what are some of those etiquettes that we could do? And then take note of, inshallah, and some of the rulings of Udhiyah for those who want to slaughter in the next 5 minutes. If people allow us, we will be about 5-10 minutes beyond time today, inshallah. Faddal, Mustad.
Okay, so for those of us who are at home, like Prophet Islam, as recommended for us, as the first 10 days of Zulhijjah. So it's one of the best days that we use that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us. So we're expected to engage in a lot of askar. Number one is that it is a period for us to fast. So we're expected to fast, at least for the first 9 days, not the 10 days, day of Eid. And on the day of Eid, we are not expected to fast. So even this first 10 days, you can fast from the 1st of Zulhijjah till the 9th of Zulhijjah. If you can't fast the whole of those 9 days, you can fast part of it. But most importantly, don't miss the day of Arafah, which is at least, even if you can't do any fasting, fast on the day of Arafah. So which is what Islam recommends for me. So when we are now doing that, now for those of us who want to slaughter animals, like a lot of scholars have told us, if you have the intention that, yes, I'm going to slaughter it, layer, like they call it, for that period, it is recommended that at that point in time, you don't shave your hair, you don't shave any of your hair, you don't cut your nails. You just like you are in the state of Iran, just like those who are in Mecca, because you have that intention of doing it. That is part of the sunnah that is recommended for us to do. So that's one of the things we do in the first 10 days of so it is important for us to observe Salah, observe our fasting, engage in a lot of etiquette, especially takbirat, which we do, and then we ensure that we do a lot of du'as. That's the basic thing. And if you have intention of slaughtering, avoid cutting your hair, clipping your nails, shaving any part of your body until the 10th day of Hajj, when you'll be free to do that. So that's a sign that I am also going to sit up, even though I am not in Hajj at that point in time. So I think.
Now, Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh. There are a couple of questions which I think are important here. The first one is already answered. So if one is performing Hajj, when should we stop cutting nails and shaving hair? Before you assume your ihram. As soon as you assume your ihram, you can't do anything like that. So the second question here is, if one plans to perform Hajj Tamattu, can one perform more than one Umrah before the start of Hajj?
Yes, that's the question a lot of people do ask. Normally, when you are going there, you perform your Umrah, then you go for your Hajj. Now, some people want to say, I want to do additional one. I want to do because I'm in Makkah. Well, to some scholars said it's allowed, but to a lot of people said you don't really need that. You should rather engage in doing tawaf. If you have opportunity, go and do more tawaf there, and then do supplication. But if for any reason you decide, okay, maybe suppose I want to do Umrah for my late dad, I want to do Umrah, because you can do Umrah on behalf of those who are late. It's allowed. As long as you have done your own Umrah. Just like you can do Hajj on behalf of those who are not feasible, who are not physically there, who can't make it, or who are late. The only condition for that one is that you must have performed Hajj yourself. Because Hajj is compulsory. You must have your own Hajj, then you can perform Hajj on behalf of others. So for that reason, if you want to do that, there's no problem. But a lot of scholars show that once you have done one Umrah, it suffices for you. You can do tawaf at any time, in the morning, the afternoon, the night. You are free to do it. Even though now tawaf is quite difficult, especially for those of us who are men, because you can't go in down there if you are not in state, you are not in your ihram. So what people just do is that maybe they just put on ihram so that they can have access to the mosque. But for women, their own ihram, nobody can separate them. So they can always have access 5 times, anytime they want to go in there. So if you have opportunity of doing tawaf, you can do more of tawaf. And then once you have done one Umrah, do it properly, because that's your Umrah for Hajj. But if there's a need, feel that you want to take advantage, you can delay it till after your Hajj, maybe, and then you have finished and you want to do Umrah on behalf of somebody that is so close to you. It is allowed.
Now, this other question, which is important as well, you told us that for a woman who is on their menses, obviously they can't do tawaf. They have to pay that back afterwards. What about Arafah? Can they stand on the plane of Arafah and do all those rites on the day of Arafah whilst on their menses?
A woman that is their menstruation can do everything about Hajj. Everything that all people do Hajj, they will do. The only thing they will not do is the tawaf and the sa'i. Every other thing they will do, they can stand in Arafah, they can do that. So they will not do the tawaf and sa'i. If it's for Hajj, they will delay their tawaf of Hajj, tawaf to the father, until when they are clean. However, if for instance, they are not clean and they have to go back to their country. So scholars are of two opinions, even though one extreme opinion one said they will go back and come back the following year to come and do it. Now, to get the money to do that from Nigeria today for 10 million, so next year I have to do for another 10 million. It may not be that easy. So that's why other scholars said no. What they do is that they get themselves clean. They treat it like they are doing istiada. Get themselves clean, cover the private part, ensure it is well protected, and they do their Umrah. But they combine it with, they ensure it is the Umrah that wada with their wada. So it means they're just doing it and they are leaving Makkah. That will actually show that it's actually they have no option. So they will do that and they are covered. So they will just treat it like it's their job. Because a lot of people, because of that, some women want to use some drugs to stop their menstruation. It's dangerous. Medical people have said that. In fact, we had an experience with one who tried it, who followed us. He tried it and later the experience. She used the drug source to delay the administration. Unfortunately for her, the blood now started coming, and it did not even stop. Longer than she even has ever even experienced. So it worked, was counterproductive for her. So it's better you leave it. Follow the rules. If you are now going, clean yourself, cover your whatever pad you want to use and do your tawaf, and then you can leave. So it is allowed.
Now, the final question. This is an important question. I'm sorry, and that will be the last one, inshallah. As a resident of Jeddah who wants to perform Hajj, and we are to leave on the 7th of Zulhijjah by the evening to Mecca, what Hajj are we going to perform?
You leave on the 7th of Zulhijjah by evening, Nabi.
To Mecca, yes.
You make your choice. If you are leaving by evening, you know, from Jeddah to Mecca, it's just maybe 2 hours drive, whatever. And you can still get there before Subhi to do your Umrah. Fine, you can still do your Tamatu. You can do Umrah, Tamatu. If you want to do that, do your Umrah, break, go back to sleep. In the Subhi, you go. And if you want to do the Quran, combine it together. Put on your Ihram, immediately you are putting on your Ihram. Do your Umrah, and then continue with it for your Hajj. So, which will be the best anyway because of the timing, the short period, and then can do it as a Quran and do that. And if you want to do just Ifrad, that means you will not do Umrah. But if you want to do Umrah, you can do the Quran since the days are very close. Just do it, and then you move on to Mina on the 8th. Inshallah.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Ustaz. Can we all say Jazakumullahu khairan to Ustaz? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase you in knowledge and bless you, give you good health and your family. We really enjoyed the session. For those who came late, the lecture will be on our YouTube channel, Muslim Forum of Britain. Go back to it and listen to it. Very, very useful, especially those of us going on Hajj. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept over all our Hajj. For those of us that have been that want to go again, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invite us soon. For those who have not been and want to go, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invite every one of us. Jazakumullahu khairan. So inshallah, we'll see you again in a fortnight with another interesting session. And it's your brother, Abdul Majid Adas Magaji, saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Barakallahu fikum.
Jazakallah khairan.
شكرا.
Ẹ̀ ń bá wí yẹn. Ẹ ń gbèsè rárá mi Ọlọ́run tó má jẹ́ kó fèjì tí wọ́n mú létí tí mo lò.